My son is 24, he graduated from Sultan High School. Talking to peers or kids that have been in my house, they've also experienced bullying, harassment, and violence in the schools. Really, 5 years later, we really need to do more. So that's kind of why I'm here talking about it. Reading through the reports, I think there are a lot of tools. There's some good tools that we can take. Peer-to-peer mediation is one. De-escalation tactics that you can teach from young kids up. You start at the littles and you move your way up. The other thing I wanted to bring up or mention, prevention-wise, there needs to be a separation between the kids riding the bus with the high schoolers and the middle schoolers to kind of take that idolization away. And that was mentioned in my notes. So I'll be gathering like-minded individuals, any of you who want to be there, but as a community coalition and part of the prevention coalition, and some of the representatives. I had a lovely conversation with Dan on this very topic, with the mayor as well, because we all are part of this and we need to be part of the solution. So that's it from me, Sarah. So I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question. Just a question. Could you, not right this instant, I'll give you a
Sure.
break, but would you email the board or me or whatever about suggestions you might have to address this problem, the action items that you spoke about?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I have several meetings that I am from finding out resources from all of the different agencies, because I feel like all of us are individually handling symptoms of the problem, not getting to the core of the problem and coming at it as a full attack. But I'm happy to send you what I have so far,
Okay.
and what we might consider as evidence-based mediation or evidence-based processes we can take to reduce the violence in our community.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Jeff Estes.
Good evening, board and administration, audience. My name is Jeff Estes and I reside in Startup. For the last 6 months, I've been mentoring and tutoring students. I've done that with over 75 students. And trying to stay 100% hopeful, positive, and send that message to the students sometimes is difficult and challenging when I read or hear about this stuff posted on Facebook and even watch these videos and I just shake my head and this is enough. It's been going on too long. We need to take action and get these resolved. Last fall I approached Dan about creating a security department at the school district, and there was some talk of perhaps the district wasn't quite large enough at that time, but I think with all the new growth in the area, I think it's time to maybe take another look at that. These types of things with the violence and the bullying and stuff like that is certainly not good for the district, especially when we're looking at growth in the near future and wanting to approach the community about getting more support for the school district. So I wanted to come here tonight and share that, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Heidi, I can't tell if you wrote no or yes, so I don't want to pass you by. Where you at? Was that a no?
I am okay now.
Okay. And Richard?
Good evening, good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for permission to speak and address everybody today and hear my concerns. Some of you heard me speak here before. I know you got the slideshow that you're going to be going over later, but we're not allowed to speak or kind of redirect or re-comment afterwards. So I have to address that now so that I can actually get that out. But after reviewing the statistics, going over that year for year, kind of as she mentioned, going from the 2016 to current, you can see a downtick, or you can see an increase in the number of students being, or at least reporting being bullied at middle school and at the high school. So it's not just a one school or the other thing. You can see a constant decrease in the belief from these students that something is gonna be done by the schools to solve the problem. And I think that's kind of what's led to the downward spiral that's led us to such a combustible, fragile moment that we're in right now, where something has to be done. The talks, the meetings, the brainstorming, something has to be done at this point, because no amount of talking is gonna solve the issue. We need to empower the LEOs who are working at the schools. We need to empower the community. I know we talked about doing the dad thing, which I am 100%, just like I was the first time you brought it up. And I started doing it at the elementary school right after we first moved here, 100% on that. Again, I'll submit my paperwork, and we'll do that at the high school next year, because I think that's where the biggest problem is right now, given most recent events. How we go from increasing numbers of students being bullied, and the decrease in their belief something's gonna be done. I don't know how the statistics led to them feeling safer over that same time frame, because it's kind of counterintuitive. If you're saying that it's happening more, we know how to report it, we feel less safe, but we feel less safe, but we're good about it. The statistics don't seem to match up to me. I called the schools today, get real world numbers for what we actually have in seats as far as students go, so that I'm not using percentages off of numbers from in the past. And using the percentages that we talked about today, out of the 111 12th graders we got, which is the top of the top, 19 out of 111 within the last 30 days have been bullied. And those are only the ones that were confident enough to report it or willing to report it. And going off of 1 in 3 not thinking the school is going to do anything about it, what benefit do they think that they have in reporting it if they don't believe something's actually going to be done? So how many more students aren't reporting the bullying via the Healthy Student Survey? 8th graders, we have 164 of them at Sultan Middle School. 49 out of that 164 reported being bullied in the last 30 days. Again, same question. 39% of those 8th graders, top of the middle school, biggest kids on the block, 49 out of 164 being bullied. 39% of them are scared to say something because they don't think the school is going to do anything. So how many more students are just sweeping under the rug or being told to hush or being put to blame for that? That's a significant problem for me, because normally top of food chain is top of food chain. You're not worried about the little guys. But if you're at the top, where else are you going to go other than adults? We're the only other people around. Teachers, law enforcement officers, whoever's there adults-wise, is the only people you can turn to. The DAD program would be great if more of the community could get behind it and get involved, but that can't be the only plan. That can't be the only action. It is for parents who are overworked now, 1, for inflation, 2, for more taxes, more money always being pulled out of our paychecks, and everything costing more, to, hey, you need to take time off, otherwise we can't secure your schools for your kids. That can't be the only option for us. We have to do something as a school district and at least take care of half of that. The community side of it, we'll have to address with law enforcement on a separate thing, as Gigi, we were talking about earlier. That has to be done, but something within the school board who has the power to act in the schools has to be done in the schools. There has to be something measurable and accountable done in the schools, because talking about it and having brainstorming sessions is not going to fix the problem. And I did all that information. I pulled all the information. I used the slideshows because we had that whole thing with the levy conversation where I was pulling information off the website I was given, and then I was blasted saying I was providing misinformation as far as salaries and stuff goes when I was using the website. So I just want to make sure that was the website I was given. I don't want that to turn into me misusing stuff. So I went straight off the slideshow that was provided for this evening. And again, the whole that whole pay thing kind of comes into it, because with the pay raises some key members in this district have gotten over the last 2 years, it would literally pay for 2 or 3 full-time resource officers there at school to help take care of the issue, because we have kids attacking other kids on campus. We have kids carrying pepper spray in there, starting a fight with another kid, and then pepper spraying him in the face because of it. We have kids, which I know for a fact, are carrying training switchblades into the high school. Which, if you don't, everyone knows what a butterfly knife is or a switchblade is. This is a training one, which is essentially the entire thing, full weight, full practice, so you don't cut your own self. That way, when you get good at it, you can carry the real one and be a lot more deadly with it. They're carrying this into the high school.
Did you call anybody on that? Did
On
you
what?
tell anybody that people are carrying those to school?
I started to have this conversation with the entire board, and then you brought up the issue with the serial meeting. Then I did the research on the serial meeting, was trying to address this with you and you refused to continue to comment on it and said I needed to come to your office before you would continue
That
the
should have been the
conversation.
first thing in your email, not after 32 emails.
It was 3 emails, Darren.
It was a lot.
It was 3
But if
emails
somebody's
about
gonna
this
switch
where
blades,
you were
you need to tell them
redirecting it.
right
One
now.
email was directed personally at avoiding the conversation altogether.
All right, for anybody in the
Because
room,
of that.
if you know that somebody's carrying a knife into one of our schools, don't write an email, call the police or call the district, because that shouldn't be an email thing.
The trainings
That
aren't,
should be a meeting.
again, the training things aren't knife. I heard about the fake gun that was brought to the school, and then the kid was at school the very next day for bringing a fake gun. So bringing a fake knife, again, lack of faith in something actually being done, does me no good. To report it if it's just gonna be, oh, he'll be back in school the next day.
Let's try
So-
reporting it.
That was where I was going with our conversation via
Well,
email
It
before you
took you a
said,
while to
this
get
is the
there.
last I'm gonna
You
talk
finally had
about.
to say, email's not working here.
You guys don't do anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as a point of order, we need to move on.
Okay, sorry. We'll address that later on.
Well, let's
But
have
we need to do
arguments.
something,
Let-
whether it's
let him say
bag
what he
searches,
needs to
metal
say.
detectors, giving the law enforcement officers, resource officers, we gotta get more people, more bodies on campus to help secure that campus. Whether it's middle school, especially at the high school, because they're clearly doing things on their own outside of the school, at least for that short amount of time while the kids are in school, they can have that peace of mind. Okay? That's all I have to say. Oh, and if you're getting together the committee, the group, please let me know. With my force protection, law enforcement background, please let me know. I'll be happy to get on board with you.
Well, you're not community movement.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for speaking this evening, I appreciate it. I do, like Melody, your point, we need to get to the root cause of it. I don't know that I feel comfortable that we have to turn our school district into a police state. I do understand, Richard, your points, if it's an unsafe situation, we need to police it. And the board is trying to address this. One of the things you didn't bring up is in many of those areas, we were doing better than the average small school, which is really scary, because without the numbers you gave, if they were 10% of those numbers, it's too much. It's unfortunate, and as a community, this is a community problem. It's not a school problem, because we have them 7, 8 hours a day, and they're someplace else the rest of the time. They're not learning this activity in science class or social studies. They're learning it online, in social media, on the streets. They're not learning it in the schools. We can do a better job making certain we see it every time, and we will always do that. But I was an excellent parent, and I screwed up a few times. And we have excellent employees, and they can't catch everything. But I know they're trying. Very few of our staff
Maybe
don't
we
try
should,
to do this.
maybe we should make it mandatory, no social media while in school.
I would love that. I'd love to ban phones and
I'll
social
make that-
media
I'll make that
completely for all
motion.
of our students. But that is part of the problem, because kids aren't just being bullied at school, they're being bullied in their bedroom after the parents have passed out or went to sleep, or they're at church and they don't even know their child is being bullied. So this is a bigger thing, and I really appreciate Melody bringing that to the forefront of this discussion.
Russ, I'd just like to ask the people in this room, if the board passed a no cell phones at school, would you support that?
I teach there.
I work in the district office.
I want that policy.
It's something that
It's
we,
interesting, because it's been very political, of
Yes.
course, and very difficult, of course, but we
I
may
don't
have,
think that there would be a teacher that would say no to that.
And they can use their classroom.
it's not the
phones,
teachers that
correct?
object to it.
No, they can use
Yeah.
the,
well,
It's not
no,
the
I'm-
teachers
I'm-
that object to no
I'm just saying,
cell
a
phones.
lot of this stuff, and access to stuff is happening while you're not looking. I taught school for a number of years, and I know what the kids can do in the class with me looking right at them.
One last comment.
One comment that I have in regards to that is I would not be in support of that. At the same time, I know that while my child was enrolled in the public school system, there were things happening that I wouldn't even receive a phone call. Or I wouldn't receive it until much, much later. And he was being disciplined. And that's frustrating as a parent because for so many different reasons, I'm at work and I want to know that my son is at school where he should be and not having to deal with these issues inside school grounds. And he, on several occasions, has stepped out and called me and said, "Mom, this just happened." And then an hour or two later, I get a phone call from the school to to me, that's unacceptable. Why is he contacting me first?
And you are, I'm sorry.
My name's Melissa Bridenstine.
Okay, I'd just like to have a record of who spoke. Thank you for your comments, Melissa. Before cell phones, we had some of the same issues. I don't know how many people, probably nobody's quite as old as I am, but I saw bullying go on. I was part of bullying, and I was bullied in high school and middle school. I'm not saying it's acceptable. I lived through it. I'm not saying anybody should. And when an issue arose before cell phones, we were able to go to the office, make a phone call. And kids, we survived in that environment. We've become accustomed to instant communications. When something upsets us, we're on our phones instantly. And I think what Ed's suggesting is a step back from that. I don't want, no one in this room wants your son to be unsafe or in a situation where you don't know. But when they get off the school bus and they're at school, that's where they should be all day. And you shouldn't have to wonder by tracking them, geo-tracking them, or giving text. We should know that that's where they're at, and it's our goal to be there. Because of a time constraint, I'm gonna move on. I appreciate everybody's comments. I would like a study session in the future.
Sorry, I just have one, just real quick, sorry.
And you are?
My name's Alina Mager.
Thank
I
you.
moved to the district about 4 years ago.
Yes.
I worked in private schools, special education, as well as public schools in the bigger districts. I think, I'm on board with some of the things that people are saying, but there's a context here that I also want to address with the bullying, which is also sexual harassment that's happening in the middle school specifically. It's been reported, and I'm not my child has even been harassed, which is like, my son's 6'1" and an 8th grader, by another peer. So I just wanna make sure that a part of the bullying that we're taking care of, we're also talking about the sexual harassment bullying that has happened. I think also taking cell phones away from kids until the safety is under control and kids are not bringing weapons to school, I would not feel comfortable having my son without a phone that I can contact him.
That's the
So I
challenge.
think that you have to deal with the security first before you take the cell phones away.
And a lot of the bullying is occurring on those cell phones. That's the challenge we face.
Yeah.
You know, a kid's getting threatened on the cell phone that is there so their mom feels safe about them being at school. Last one, and I gotta move on in the agenda, cause anybody come, sign up at the beginning so we can keep this orderly. Go
I
ahead.
just want to say, yes, there is an amount of cyberbullying going on. I have not experienced much online bullying in person. But most of the people I personally know and am friends with is the way they are being gone after is something will happen in school and like a remark that someone will overhear or a bad joke and to where it turns into something and they're like was said earlier, they're being jumped off campus in person because of a remark or a fight or saying something to someone.
That's all part of it. That's why this isn't just teachers need to do a better job, or just parents need to do a better job, or just bus drivers need to do a better job. This is on all of us. And this isn't new. Everybody in this room, if you went to public school or private school, you probably saw it happen to some level. And when I say that, that doesn't mean I think it's acceptable in any way, but it's unfortunate, it's true. We are addressing it. I would like to have a study session on cell phone use, and we've talked about it in the past. Having the kids at home without being in schools didn't help with this issue either, because we are dealing with, for lack of a better way of explaining it, we have 9th graders fighting like 7th graders, and it's not good, and it's more than just a bullying problem. It's social, emotional. Kids are struggling, and we need to look at it as kids are struggling, not just there's bad kids or bad parents. We need to fix those things, and it only happens as a community, because if parents won't attend those meetings, it's not gonna get better. We're all ears to make it better, and we have no rules that allow bullying, but we can't see everything. So I appreciate everybody's comments this evening, and know that we'll be working on it. Let everybody know when you get this group together. Technology department update. It may get boring from here on out, but you're welcome to stay.
I would encourage
Not
everybody.
mine is not mine.
I did, oh, wait, we have a letter from a customer, Dave, if you could hold for just a minute. I skipped, you had a letter from a customer.
She's not here. I don't see her in the audience, but she did send one.
Okay, submit it to the,
It doesn't give any detail other than she wanted to talk about it.
okay.
I guess I just wanted to make a comment about the presentation a little bit later. It came from the Healthy Youth Survey. There's a tremendous amount of questions. I picked 4 areas. And the areas I picked, just to give you kind of a broad stroke of it, but we can look at all kinds of data. I understand that doesn't always solve the problem, but it gives us some information on how to interact, because this is an all of us issue. And I would encourage you to stay for that. And,
Yes.
and hopefully we'll have time for some questions or whatever, so we can work through it, because this is a frustration. It is, and,
It's a frustration for us.
yeah.
We can,
And we don't, every day we have the opportunity to work with the most important thing in the world to you, and that's your child or children. And when these things come up, we don't feel good about it. I don't get any gratitude out of this. I stopped looking at social media because I think sometimes people go out there to try to solve the problem. It just perpetuates it. So we want to solve it and get into a much better place with this. So please stick around for that part
yeah,
of things.
and engaging in person is a lot better way to fix it than social, in my opinion. It's too easy to go off the cuff, I think, in social media, because we're all humans, and everybody in this room knows how to be respectful, disagree, and come up with a solution that will fix all this. We will have more discussion, obviously. Now, technology.
Right.
Hi guys, quick technology update. We did one about 10 months ago.
You got the whole team.
We do, we have mostly a
We have
team
most
here,
of them,
and
yeah.
that's why we brought them. Just wanted to introduce you to the team. We have Julie Gress, which she's been here longer than me, which is not a lot of people can say
We've known
that.
each other for a decade or two.
We might have met before.
And then Dave Hawkinson, he's our network computer technician, and of course you guys know Bree, and you know me. Betty lives in Snohomish, so we were gonna drag him out, and Taylor lives in Duval, and we were gonna drag him, not Duval, far away, Woodinville, Briar.
Right, far away.
So we're gonna drag him out. So, I'm keeping this really short, it's gonna be a really high view, but you guys feel free, if you wanna drill into anything deeper, ask me here, or shoot me an email later. So, short and sweet, respecting your time here.
Thanks, Dave.
Next, click. So if you remember right, we divided our tech levy into 3 areas. Infrastructure, which was a big investment at the beginning of this is last year of that tech levy, was a big investment at the beginning. Then we had student supports, and then we had staff supports. Student supports basically everything in the classroom, staff supports is our magic person here, Bree.
Yeah, so for this year, we really focused on the student supports, continuing our one-to-one device program. That is in our 3rd year. And what that looks like as a reminder is in 5th grade and 9th grade, students get devices that they use for 4 years. And then returning, when they get into 9th grade, they have another 4-year cycle. We also have computer carts in the classroom, so our K4 are also one devices, but they stay in the classroom. This year we also were able to finish out some learning spaces with the levy that we had not gotten to previously. So for example, like the high school science lab, we were able to get some presentation stations set up a little bit better so that when they're doing their demonstrations, students can see off a couple TVs. And a couple other labs as well. So just trying to wrap up our learning spaces, and we'll finish all of our learning spaces that we had promised for the first levy this summer.
Okay.
Other things in that student supports that levy funds go to are different programs and softwares, and really we're just keeping a cycle at this point. So a lot of what we're seeing is trying to stay strong with some of our practices. For staff supports, we do trainings and support. So trainings are led by me, but they're also led by our educational technology ambassadors, who are teacher leaders at the building. And that is a great support for especially new teachers. We had great success this year of offering things on campus, just short little tidbits to help onboard new staff and make sure they were getting supported with our tools. And then also under that staff support is district data support, which is Julie is able to help. She is our administrative assistant, but also helps a ton with the behind the scene things, and that is also funded by the tech levy.
Click.
These are my tech ambassadors this year, so I just wanted to give them kudos because they work really hard. They are full-time teachers, and they also come to a monthly meeting with me to go through learning and collaboration. We have one-on-ones to make sure that they feel supported in their own growth, and then they offer both supports for staff as they're trying new things, but also training. So when we go to conferences, they bring back their learning from that. Like, for example, we went to NCCE this spring for the first time live in a while, and we came back and the buildings did different workshop sessions. And if you went to the Gold Bar Community Day, you saw some of the exact, like the direct learning that was brought back from NCCE into those workshops applied into the classrooms, all within like a 2 or 3 week cycle. It was really cool to see. So huge kudos to my EdTech ambassadors this year. They did a great job supporting our staff.
Click. One of the great things that happened this year, we applied for and received a DEI grant. There was actually 2 parts for it. We were successful each part. I'm gonna let Bree explain that just a little bit.
So we shared this in the fall when we spoke with you. We were awarded a grant at the beginning of last summer for this fiscal school year, and that funded an additional technician for this school year. That was how we were able to get Taylor, which many of you became familiar with. He runs around the district and closes a ton of tickets for us, and that helps us support our one-to-one device program and lets our technician Benny, who's not here as well, really focus on making sure we're able to turn around student support and laptops a little bit quicker. Taylor, this is the beginning of June, so this number is probably a little small, but Taylor closed 675 tickets this year. For those are help desk tickets. So staff and students, to make sure that we're supporting our student learning and able to be responsive quickly. Another piece of that first grant was to fund educators to go to the National ISTE conference. That's at the end of this month. So 8 of us are heading out to this conference, and we've already are coordinating with the principals to bring back that training in August on those back to school days and share out our learning and get that in front of staff. So we're really excited for that. It looks very inspirational and appreciate your support in approving that earlier this year. A couple months ago, apparently they had extra money, so OSPI did like a little bonus round that we applied for that we had to spend and receive by the end of June. And so we applied for this and were able to receive it. We received an additional $50,000 to purchase student laptops. So we are getting our kinders updated this summer. And we're very excited about that.
It's really neat watching a kindergartner log into a computer. They can actually code. Click. So I just wanted to cover some great wins that we had this last school year. All in all, it's been a really smooth year. I think some of the teachers that are here tonight could probably back me up on that one. It's just been a really well year. I think it's because of Taylor, and we're finally getting our momentum on the student laptops, because it was a big learning curve for us. It's a lot different than how we were doing it before. A couple of the big wins, big beautiful view wins. We did a bunch of labs around the district. We upgraded the P5 lab at SHS for a video editing, CAD type lab. It can handle some high-end stuff, esports, things like that. We updated the library lab at the high school, and we updated the voc lab at the high school. My cheekbone hasn't died. I want you to know all those computers that we upgraded all these labs with were donated to us by another school district that never even unboxed them. So when they went out there on the board, I grabbed them up real quick and installed them. This is a big win, and this was ECF funding. We had some intercom issues at the high school with all the new portables. We were maxed out, and the hardware was okay, but the hardware at Gold Bar was failing. And it's the same equipment, so we applied for ECF funding to upgrade the high school intercom system, and then we took the parts from the high school intercom system and put them in at Gold Bar to give Gold Bar more capacity and fix their ailing intercoms. So that was a big one. And then, of course, if you saw the play, you saw the really cool stage projector that we put in, which I thought was really cool, and we did that kind of homebrew. That's probably it for the big wins. I mean, I'm sure I could come up with some more, but that was a good big win. I want to talk a little bit about what's coming up. Oh, click.
Thank you.
About what's coming up, what's on the horizon. So I'm gonna kind of bump around here a little bit. So this is what we see happening this summer and going into next year. Of course, we got a couple new buildings coming online. We have the portables at SES, and then the transportation co-op. That's probably gonna suck up a ton of our time. We're maintaining the replacement cycles for our student laptops, admin laptops, printers, panels, all that sort of stuff. As you know, the levy funds an equipment replacement fund that we set up, so we're never finding ourselves having to come out with these big giant capital outlays again out of pocket, because we're being fiscally responsible and saving money for those big giant outputs. Reed?
And then just continuing what we were able to set up with that first round of the levy, using round 2 of the levy. We'll continue our back to school supports for our new staff, classrooms, and trainings. And then next year, continue to do educational technology trainings for our staff and support. And yeah.
Pretty amazing.
That is.
That's kind of the 100-foot level.
Yeah.
I have one more slide. I'd just like to, or one more picture. I'd like to, I got a great shout out here. As you guys know, I run the broadcast club at the high school. They won an award this year. It's the, from the League of Women Voters, and it's the Democracy in Action Award. And it's because our broadcast club broadcasted all of their online forums the last 2 years. So it's pretty cool. And we're doing it again this year. And it went so smooth, they have decided they're gonna go exclusively online live broadcast rather than record and upload later. And that's gonna be a kind of a permanent partnership with them, I think.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Any questions?
That's awesome.
Okay.
And you know, I brag about you guys all the time to other districts, because I hear their horror stories.
Well, did you watch oh, you guys were at graduation. Graduation, I thought this year we nailed it. It was beautiful production this year.
It went great, and the weather held off.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thank
Like
you
I
very
said, feel free to email me or ask any questions.
And let us know if you'd like to see anything for next time we present and share out.
If this was too much or too little.
No, this is great.
Thanks guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Brianna, you're up next
Yep.
with SEA update.
Perfect. Okay, I don't know if I'll be able to be quite as speedy as we were with tech, because the end of the year we got lots of good highlights from our staff that I'm excited to share out. So thank you for your time this evening, and thank you for letting me go this evening instead of at the typical business meeting. I will be at that ISTE conference that you're sending us to. So awesome. So today we are going to take a look at some end of year highlights by our Sultan Education Association members. These are things that they share out to me, and then I throw it together for you. So from our high school, we had Jared Skeets share out. He is a CTE teacher that the CTE Greenhouse and Wood students built a greenhouse and propagated close to 1,000 plants for Mother's Day plant sale. The sale generated $7,500 in revenue for CTE programs, and there's some awesome pictures of the amazing work that they did there.
Did they end up selling that? I saw it on Facebook. I was like, I want that.
Then they had one order, didn't
We
they?
have one that is special ordered.
Looked awesome.
That's cool.
Looked high quality for sure. Very cool.
With that. I know. I'll take it.
Another SHS shout out was from Morgan Butterfield, a special ed teacher at the high school. This was to her whole assessment PLC, which included Stephanie Brady, Brandy Burnell, Jared Skeeth, Evan DeVry, Andrea Fuller, Katie Power, Marissa Lynch, John Hubbard, Jackie Harris, and herself, Morgan. Their creativity, commitment, and organization allowed them to provide the SBA and WCAS, how do you, WCAS, in a more comfortable and supportive way. It was an absolute privilege to work alongside them on this project. And then I threw in some pictures. They had the best shirts ever. If you didn't see those, it was like test day, no problem. Yep, no problem. And it has like a little llama on it. They just did a phenomenal job making a supportive environment, and really, I felt like was a little bit more out of the box than traditional. They really wrapped up their kids and made this a special event for them. So kudos to that whole team as well. Earth Science, Stephanie Brady is a science teacher up at the high school and wanted to share out that the Earth Science class has been growing plants to get their hands dirty, fight climate change, and get to know our fellow living beings. The plants are at 6 weeks from seed, and they took advantage of the greenhouse and collaborated with the greenhouse class. And she just felt like this was an awesome, fun learning experience and collaboration. Carissa Kelly, our CTE director and teacher, shared out some one of the projects that her AP biology students did. This final project before the seniors left was to pick a biome and teach elementary students about it. They had to explain what a biome is, population, limiting factors, abiotic, biotic factors, and human impact of the biome, plus other criteria. They then got to the reward of going into Mrs. Sifferman's class at SES to read to the second graders and get their reaction. So there's a couple of examples of the lessons that they came up with. Another one from Carissa is from her career explorations class. I think she did this last year too, it's super great. They were practicing tying ties for mock job interviews. They had to complete their high school and beyond plans, printed resumes, cover letters, and job application, and are preparing for their mock interviews. So I think she does a great job of bringing that real world experience and giving them that opportunity. And it's really funny. Moving to the middle school, we had another great end of year project, the Market Entrepreneurship Project. This is from Candace Marniral, who is our consumer science teacher at the middle school. They held a sell-off to see which student group could raise the most money for the program. Student groups created a business plan and marketing materials to show the value of the product idea. Crystal Cookies won the Creativity Innovation, and Best Table Display. Cake Pop Creations won the Ultimate Teamwork Award, and overall the best business team to sell the most and receive the most votes was BBB, Big Brown Brownie, with those students. So thanks and she wanted to say thank you for supporting the Family Consumer Science program. This comes from Heidi Harder. She wanted to share out GradWalk. It's one of the great joys of being the same school district over the years is getting to see your middle school students do the GradWalk through the halls. She hangs up self-portraits that the students made as 6th graders, and when they're walking down the hallway they can find themselves, that they're not forgotten, and it's so much fun. So this is a tradition that Heidi has done for years as well. And I'll chime in, I love this tradition. If you haven't seen it, they walk through the halls, and it's just really special for both the teachers and the students to see what their future looks like. At Gold Bar, Lindsay Martin, our music teacher, shared out that 3 third graders from the program joined Mount Pilchuck Elementary Honors Choir this spring. They were required to learn 6 pieces of music and to attend 3 rehearsals with students grades 3 through 5 from over 12 Snohomish County elementary schools. We learned the music over several months at our weekly Husky Harmony rehearsals, along with the required full group rehearsals, which all culminated in a performance at the Everett Civic Auditorium. And she included the link, and I put it in there, so if you look at your link later, you can watch the full recording if you want. Also from Gold Bar, Madison Berry, 4th grade teacher, shares out their field trip. They went to the zoo last week, and she says thank you to our board and district office for continuing to support field trips for our kids. Many of them have said, I have never been on a bus in Monroe before, and several said that they had never been to the zoo. This one is lengthy. This comes from all 3 third grade teachers at Gold Bar. They wanted to celebrate their 3rd grade authors. So I actually am going to read quite a bit of this. I apologize if I sound not going to be quick today. It's with immense pride and excitement to share the remarkable accomplishments of our 3rd grade students. A while back, these young minds dedicated themselves to an extraordinary project on an animal research. Their hard work and dedication have allowed them to delve deep into the animal kingdom, exploring the wonders of different species and teaching others about what they learned. Our 3rd grade students have spent hours researching, gathering information, and organizing their findings. Their commitment to understanding the unique characteristics, habitats, and behaviors of various animals is truly inspiring. Through this project, they have not only honed their research skills, but also developed a deeper appreciation and respect for the natural world. Their determination and enthusiasm were truly inspiring as they embraced the writing process and published their work in a classroom book to share with others. This project would not have been possible without the incredible support and generosity of some of the GBE staff. We'd like to extend our heartfelt thanks to each staff member who donated to ensure every 3rd grader could have a book of their own, showcasing their animal research and allowing them to see themselves as published authors. These books are a collaborative effort and dedication which will ignite the passion for learning and writing. And on the left-hand side is each of the 3 classrooms with their books. Lauren Murphy from SES shares out a little highlight from her SLC program. Last Wednesday, the K2 SLC second graders took a field trip to visit Gold Bar as part of their preparations to transition to the 3-5 SLC program at Gold Bar. During the visit, students got a tour of the building, visited and reconnected with classmates they knew from years past, and met new teachers and paraeducators, had lunch, enjoyed recess, and engaged in some activities with their new classmates. Everyone had a great time and is so ready for all the learning in the years to come at Gold Bar. And I believe this is our last one. This is from Jessica Falsgraf, 3rd grade at SES. This year, 3rd grade classes at SES partnered with a local farm, Grenoble Farms, to set up a composting program in classrooms. Each week, Ms. Falsgraf's class compost crew would switch out buckets, and our principal, Mr. Van Orden, would transport them to the farm. Through this partnership, we were able to save over 1,500 pounds of food from the landfill. We are excited to continue this partnership next year and expand it even further. And there's several pictures up there, including their decorated compost buckets, their cows, and some of their classwork that they did. Awesome. So I just wanted to say thank you. I was able to share out a few times again this year, and I appreciate each time being able to highlight some of our members' work, and appreciate you taking the time to hear from us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to the survey feedback on student behavior bullying and Solus School District response presentation. Dan?
Yeah, so I think that, this topic comes up from time to time, and trying to be proactive about dealing with it and solving it or getting an upper hand on it is it's not something you just get there and it's all of a sudden over. I think it's an ongoing effort that's a community school district partnership. When there was a situation that happened out at Gold Bar, and I'm just kind of to try to prompt what got this started and why did I pick the slides that I picked. And since I don't, go look at Facebook myself, I had it shared with me that there was some, really sad and unfortunate situations that occurred, and so I talked to Sarita and Brett about it, and we met and discussed, what do we do or how do we go about this? I think there was talk of bringing some kind of a signature list or something to the board, I think was part of it, but say, well, let's put something together and generate some ongoing conversations so that we can get, move forward on this. And so the Healthy Youth Survey is something we've given since, years and years and years of it. And since we first started doing it, it has expanded just from drugs and alcohol and various things to also include bullying, whether it's happening online or whatever, student behavior, et cetera. And so Brett and Sarita put together this slideshow of 4 slides, or of 4 different areas that I mentioned earlier. We also do some survey work through Center for Educational Effectiveness, but it doesn't have as many focus just on this. But we can drill down on these things, that say, okay, kids don't feel it's safe at school. We know some of what that's about, but we don't know all of it. We changed how we're doing drills because as school shootings and various things became more of things that we're concerned about, we realized that we were causing kids great anxiety and challenge in just doing these drills. And so that was one of the things that we're aware of. But if we talk about what all does that mean, those are things we want to know. And so I picked those 4 areas thinking they would give us kind of a broad stroke of what is the experience of our students. And if I didn't mention it, somebody said, well, is this the most recent one? The Healthy Youth Survey is only given every other year. And so I have access to it that goes back to, the early 2000s. And you can look at a lot of different things, but for the sake of just taking a snapshot of, have you been bullied in the last 30 days? And this is one that we want to talk about, because every time an event happens, it ends up in the classification of bullying. And it doesn't mean the event's okay. Things happen between kids, but everything that happens is classified as bullying. And so I think that's part of where some of the education has got to come in, because I've experienced it. you know, back when I was in middle school. I know what it's like. And, we know that kids deal with it. The part that's different now that I obviously didn't have available then was any kind of social media to deal with. So that was one question. The second was, do you feel safe at school? And what does that mean? I was concerned about what I saw. In some grades, they reported that they feel safe, and some it was concerning. What's the children's hope scale? You know, what's their general overall outlook for hope? You know, and that one you could read different things into it. And then, are they connected to an adult in the community? And that one was concerning as well. Because if, you know, I was lucky enough to have my mom and dad at home, and they put little rigid lines down, and I towed the line best I could. And if I didn't, I got whipped into line pretty quickly. But the part I'm thinking of is, this is what our kids are telling us, at least through these surveys. Doesn't mean that we have a complete picture. It means that we've got to drill down in some of these areas because, you know, bullying keeps coming up. Issues that are happening between kids keep coming up. I know we don't teach it here, but we have a big responsibility because this is a place where everybody meets on a daily basis. They're in those age groups where this stuff happens. I remember when social media first started becoming a player in our world, I can remember talking to principals thinking, oh gosh, what's Monday gonna bring? Because something happened over the weekend on social media. Now it's so prevalent that we can't even tell, you know, and so you go back to that phone thing. But I'm gonna let them cut loose and kind of talk through this a little bit. I hope there's some time for some interaction or questions. On another side of it, I'll follow up a little bit on what Melody Daisy said. You know, I did get her email, as did several other community leaders. I met with Carolyn Eslick today. We had a meeting scheduled not pertaining to this meeting, or not pertaining just to this topic, but it's something that we're all seeing, and seeing it in different places. And it's something that we all have to get involved in taking care of, because it's a problem, and our youth are hurting, and we see it in school. And you know, some of the kids were really strongly connected to, and some were not as connected to. But we have a prominent role in that kids are here for a good portion of their school day to learn, and we want to make sure that that they're doing as well as we can. We've added immense amounts of counseling, and you know, that's something that's fairly new in the last few years. We didn't have any. You know, mental health counseling offered in a public school district wasn't part of the deal. And now we're almost, you know, turning it into a sort of a full service place when really our primary purpose is to educate kids. But to get to the education, there's a lot of ways that we have to help students. And they're real. We're not making it up. It's real. And so, you know, without hearing from me anymore, I'll let them talk, and then we'll see kind of how this goes afterwards.
Well, thank you, Superintendent Chaplet. As you know, I'm Brett Chaplet, the principal at Sultan Middle School.
I'm Sarita Whitmire-Ski, principal of Sultan High School.
And so it's a great honor to just kind of help roll through and kind of help define what bullying is and what it isn't, perception versus reality. I'll go ahead and read that first, but there's a perception that Sultan Middle School and Sultan High School have a large amount of bullying that takes place on campus. What does the data show us? I mean, we've looked at the slides prior. What are we doing, and how can we help the community? You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, Sarita and I do within our schools that help limit the amount of bullying that goes on. You know, I can kind of tell you what we do at the middle school. When it comes to extreme cases, we have what's called a no contact contract between parents and students. That helps minimize issues between students within our walls. If there's issues that come across, we deal with it, and we're very limited on what we can do through OSBI's limitations that we have in regards to consequences. And I think that might lead into some of the misconception of we're not doing something about it, and we can get into that a little bit later. But I want to give you the definition of bullying. Next slide, to the next one. Bullying is when one or more students threaten, spread rumors about, hit, shove, or otherwise hurt another student over and over and over again. Sometimes I hear through walking through the commons in the lunchroom, you know, the students go, "Hey, Mr. Chapel, they're bullying me." I said, "Okay, what's going on? What's happening?" and I hear, they said that, this is theirs and it's not mine, or they said a mean word. Technical definition, that doesn't reach the definition, and if it occurs continually, or, you know, if there's a power imbalance, if there's like 3 against 1, that's a huge power imbalance. I can tell you, I stepped in with one today that was going on. There was 2 kids kind of picking on another kid outside during transition, during the hallways. Stepped in, intervened, and dealt with that, and dealt with it correctly and swiftly. I know, like, Sarita can go on and on, but I'll let you take over now.
So oftentimes we deal with a lot more meanness than we honestly do bullying. A lot of meanness says, you know, they called me a name. So we deal with that a lot. And so one of the things that at the high school we work with is that we have restorative practices. Part of the problem is that both sides have to agree to do that. Oftentimes we get where kids don't want to do any type of restorative practice at all. So, but again, they both have to agree to meet and come together. I've been successful in being able to do that. We've also had,
Restorative practice is like a mediated conversation.
yes, where they come in and they restore
Okay.
their friendships, or restore being respectful to
Okay.
one another,
Cool.
those kind of things. So, other things we've done is we've done restorative practices with families. And so, I'll have a family call and says, hey, you know, this is going on also outside of school, not just in school. Can we connect with the parents? And so I'll reach out to the other side of the parents and say, hey, this family wants to connect. Is there a way that we can connect? And again, both sides have to agree to do that, or I can't go anywhere. And so those are some of the other things I do, is I reach out to those. Been very successful. This year, I've had 3 sets of families that have agreed to come together and meet and talk on both sides. And things have resolved through doing that. But again, it takes both sides of families. Sadly, I had another family that says, absolutely not, we're not meeting. We're not doing this. And it's really hard to help when I have families that say, no, I'm not doing this, or I have students that say, I'm not doing this. Trying to, you know, get down to the bottom of why. There's always a, you know, he said, she said, there's always a, you know, one side versus, and somewhere it's in the middle, right? We know that there's 2 sides, actually 3 sides to every story, one or the other, and somewhere in the middle. And so we try to honestly meet that middle piece where everybody comes together and we can have some sort of agreement to move forward, whether it be staying away from each other, whether it being ability to be friendly to one another, and those things. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. It's not a perfect system. Because you have to have students that agree to do that on both sides. You have to have parents that agree to, you know, be a part of that and work through those things. So, so those are some of the things. Also, when there is some sort of bullying investigation that's done, it's not just because someone's bullying we send them out. OSPI does not allow us to do that. So OSPI says you need to launch an investigation. That investigation goes back to what's the root cause. And so oftentimes we even have to sit down and go, what's going on at home? What's going on here? We learn some other different things through some of this stuff. And sometimes the bullying's not even being done based on student to student. It's being done adult to student and those kind of things. And so those are some of the things we learn through that. And so it opens up a whole lot of other things, which allowed us to counseling. At the high school, we partner with 3 outside counselors. We partner with THS, we partner with CMAR, and we partner with Consejo. Those 3 programs are full. Every single one of them are full that we have that come on our campus.
And I can just say as well that at the middle school, those same counseling services are available. We have several students in Consejo and CMAR. THS has been there to help throughout the year as well. So those counseling opportunities are there, and we have kids on wait list. As soon as one's open, our counselor, Mr. Richard, gets to them in as soon as he could. So we just had one actually start 2 weeks ago, which is great, because there wasn't opening.
And any parent that has called and said, Sarita, I need your help. I'm more than happy to meet with them and help them and us sit down and try to figure it out. I've never turned a parent away saying, no, I can't meet with you. I've always said, let's meet, let's talk, let's try to figure something out. But then I get, people go, well, people say you're not responding to them. I've not heard from them. So when people respond and call me or email me, I'm willing to set something up and work things out. So happy to do those kind of things if people want to sit down and meet and go through some of that as to what we can do.
I just wanted to like touch on the perception as well. I know it's in the slideshow, we'll go quickly over, but sometimes the perception is, well, it's at school, they're being bullied at school, we must know about it. That's not always the case. We don't know about it necessarily until someone lets us know. You know, the kid doesn't tell us, they tell their friend or they tell their parent, and then we get notified of that, and then we have to start our investigation and help mediate that issue and help resolve it, so they can go about their daily business without any issues. So I think the most important thing is to, you know, if there's an issue, if you hear of an issue, let us know. We may know about it, but probably we don't. Would you agree?
Or something that we thought we solved came back up.
Mhm.
And they didn't bother to say something again. Because what we thought we had resolved wasn't resolved. The kids are not coming forth, or parents are not coming forth.
I have a question. Current issue on Friday afternoon at the dance, I was told that more than 3 females approached you and 2 other adults and were told boys will be boys. That's why I'm here tonight.
I can tell you.
Boys are gonna be men, and we are the adults in this community that form them. And if we allow that behavior and those words, my daughter is affected. All of the daughters in the community and men, because we are holding them to a shitty standard. We have to hold them to a higher standard. If we want better, we gotta do better. Boys will not be boys. Boys will be men.
Ms. Clue, I can tell you, those words never came out of
I
my
really
mouth.
hope not, because I would.
And from the
respect
staff that I interviewed today and on Friday night, no one mentioned any of that. And I know that's a current investigation going
I
on.
was parked in the parking lot because I wanna give her freedom. I wanna give her a childhood. But I have to sit there and wait for something bad to happen, cause I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I have an 8th grade son and a 6th grade daughter, and I'm afraid. And I never thought I would be. But I saw 3 females leave the school in tears. I saw it with my own eyes. So something did occur, and I haven't heard a peep. I haven't heard a peep.
And I can tell you that Officer Lynch and I were working together. I don't know, can I share some of my findings?
Cut it loose.
Please.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
some of the findings that I have heard through many different sources, whether it's staff members and the students, is something happened to a friend, but no one can describe what that something was, and everything that has come to fruition is there was a group of boys who was trying to get a dance partner for their friend. The 2 agreed, yeah, let's dance. The student asked the other students kind of what grade they were in. The other individual said they were in 6th grade, and the other individual said, okay, I'm done and walking away, because they didn't want to be associated. And then the other individual kind of got, I don't know, emotional distraught, and it just wrapped up from there. Those are all the accounts that I had. Those were over 12 different accounts. And there was.
So Brett and I have been on the phone 3 or 4 times today about this issue, just trying to catch up,
Yeah.
because what happened, the way it got to me, is somebody went to Facebook.
Right.
And made a comment, said, any 6th grade girls that have this happen, this isn't how you solve problems.
No.
Not at all. And so, obviously, I've been meeting with him, they reviewed video, interviewed kids, and whatever. I mean, I
And that's all I would expect as a
I
parent.
feel a level of confidence, because we're, you know, if something like that happened, we're doing nothing about it, fire us all.
Mhm.
Right.
I
No,
mean,
know.
seriously.
That's why I'm here.
But it can't, we're not gonna go talk about this kid
No, and I
mentioned
don't
this, or this
expect
kid
you to.
mentioned that.
That's why it's
I
quiet.
don't wanna know who it was. I just wanna know my kid's safe. That's all. And I heard the term boys will be boys was thrown around.
Yeah.
And that was really frustrating for me.
Very unacceptable. If
Yeah.
an administrator or I ever said that, then tell the board and they should deal with us that day.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
No, I totally agree. That's why I was really worried and I didn't hear anything. saying.
If they actually said that, you would hear from me, trust me. 'cause
Sure,
that-
like we
yeah.
get a letter
Absolutely.
saying, oh, something might have been.
But I would urge you
spread.
as a parent and an adult, you know, just take a step back when stuff like that's said. You can call me anytime.
Sure.
And, you know, I certainly will try to figure that out, but this stuff gets cranked up, people react to it. And
Yes.
certainly the face of it sounds very serious, not that we want for anybody, at any point, any time. But Brett and I have talked multiple times today, trying to check in, they've viewed video, spent lots of today
We've
on
always
that
talked about
issue.
it. She didn't see anything that happened or heard anything, it's just friends, you know? But she had fun, she danced the whole time, she came home sweating, she had a great time. But just those things you hear, I just wanted to make sure that it was actually discussed. Because the way it was, yes, presented online, which it's online, like you said, so I try to take it with a grain of salt, but I also knew somebody that talked about it.
Absolutely, and I can tell you that the dance got over at 7, I didn't leave until 8:39.
Right.
Because
I
we
just,
were
the
looking and
whole like
reviewing.
having security at the door might be a great idea because it said no leaving and reentry. I watched them. I watched boys leaving and coming. I watched them coming and going out the doors and
That's not acceptable.
it's not.
That was
because-
my question, was there enough do you guys feel like there was enough supervision
I don't-
at the dance to really be able, like, volunteers and supervision? Because that's usually when this kind of stuff happens, is when there's not enough, and that's why I'm asking, like, I'm curious about that too. I do not think it's appropriate to put any children on blast. I don't care if it's because of bullying, if it's because it's harassment in a social media platform. I think us
Sure.
as parents have kind of sometimes created our children to see our behaviors. And I think this is where
That's
the
exactly why I
community.
stopped going to Facebook.
Yeah, this is
Right
where the
there.
community, I'm talking Sultan community Facebook groups, whoever's running these book, you know, and this is where we need the community to step in with this board meeting to be like, hey, us as individuals, we don't get to go and just we've called out businesses, people that are part of this community, like, our kids are seeing this behavior happen from adults, their friends as parents. So then they think it's okay, or they don't know what to say, how to trust, they just feel like they're scared, you know, and then at the same time, they think that they can also say and do what they want. And then us as facilitators, as parents, as community, you know, we don't know how do we handle that? How do we stop it from the adult? That we're showing it's okay our kids to do this. When you talk about social media, you guys have probably seen it. Businesses being run through, all of you have been run through, I imagine, on social media, and I don't think that's living from I lived in Bothell, Everett, and I was on multiple Facebook group pages, you would have never seen anything like that happen, and I've had a huge issue since we moved here about that. You would never see a Sultan community Facebook group be allowed to do what this, and that is where I personally feel like our children, especially our teenagers, are seen as okay. And that's where I'm wondering, when is the town gonna get involved in that?
I went out to different communities because I thought it's gotta be like this everywhere, because this is bad. And it's not.
No, it's
And,
not. We moved
and
from
it is
Bothell,
part of the
Mill Creek, and we
modeling
never
that
saw
young people
any
see.
people
Thank you for bringing it up.
That is, and I think it starts from there, because I feel like if our kids are going and they're saying this, maybe they think it's okay to be like, I don't know, I just think there's so much has changed, especially since COVID, and just the kids, you know, being scared and nervous and seeing themselves differently, as well as us as adults. We feel like we can say and do what we want because for so long we were in this bubble, you know? So I'm asking if the district can talk to, I would like to see the town get involved. Is this, and what has happened to these kids on public transportation? That is it. Gold Bar, Sultan, what is going on? Yes, it starts from the schools, but it also starts with what's at home. What are we doing as adults? What are we representing to our community?
Can I just go back to your question about supervision? I would
Yes.
love to have 100 people there helping supervise
Is-
any
is
dance.
that
I'm
a
sure Sarita would love the same. The more supervision, the better.
We've gotten to the point where we will cancel something if we don't have enough supervision.
Yeah.
So,
Can I get you two ladies in the back rows your names so I make certain I have
Oh,
you?
sure, my name's Alina Mager.
Okay, Thank you.
CLUNE.
And I will say, as a mom that did the PTSO at the middle school for 3 years, there's never enough volunteers. And we did, every year we did a dance. We did our best, and I know that we checked bags and we didn't let people in and out and stuff like that. But there's never enough parents, and I know both of them would love volunteers, and we just need to get people to do it.
That's like really like I think that happens in every school, like they don't have enough, and that's when this stuff happens. It's
Especially
like-
when they get old, once the kids get to middle school and high school, parents are like, we're done.
Yeah,
We don't have to do
We've seen that
PTA
a lot.
anymore, school parent or whatever, but it doesn't stop, and I think those are the grades that they really need the parents in the school.
Especially with them being on social media and all these things, I think there's been this shift that's happened with our older kids, where we're all the part of the generation of, we all had jobs and our parents backed off, right? Like, but now I feel like there's a switch where I'm not the director of what I was doing anymore to stay home with my kid because he's about to go to high school and I'm worried about him feeling supported, you know, and like, I feel like I can be more involved now compared to when he was in elementary school and my son was in spec ed, like, I feel like I have to be, you know, so I think if that is the case, we gotta, that's a piece of what I think we have to do as a community is volunteer more.
They missed
In the
2.5
schools.
years of socialization.
Yeah.
They're stunted.
They're
2.5
so
years,
stunted.
you know, like.
Especially the middle schoolers.
and they sat around, I raised 2 daughters, and they didn't go through this COVID thing. Those young ladies that maybe left crying, and I hope what I'm thinking is correct, they've read all the bad news that's out there, and they hear all of the bad things, and if they see somebody upset, possibly because an older boy didn't wanna dance with her, I hope that's what it is.
Right.
And they leave, and they're gonna leave crying, and they're more emotional than they may have been if they had that stimulation of being involved with the classroom for those 2 years. We know, I hear it from every teacher, and I'm married to one, that kids came back really different, and she's been teaching for 30-some
I know
years.
she was my teacher.
Yeah, that says something, I guess. She's been around a long time.
She taught me drums in elementary school, so.
Oh, wow, you've been around for a long time.
So,
Yeah.
Did you have a comment, Melody?
I did. So someone that's in the community that gets run through the ringer all the time, I work for the Sky Valley Chamber of Commerce, and we do a lot of events. Getting people involved in the community is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
I work for the Volunteers of America, we run teen night, there's 4 of us, sometimes, maybe. You know, we do all these things. If you really wanna see change in your community, get involved. And that's what it boils down to. And that's it, that's all I wanna say. It's
And it-
like, you can talk about all the problems, and you can talk about what they're not doing or am doing, but unless you're going to be part of that solution, it will never change.
And I guess I would say too, you know, back to the social media thing, I have kind of viewed it as, it's kind of a community, low self-esteem. We've gotta have
Which is
higher
scary.
expectations of ourselves.
Yeah,
I
with
can't
the amount of
imagine,
growth that's coming in, it's scary.
I can't imagine going out to Facebook to get my needs met by blasting off. And that goes on regularly around here.
I think we can all model proper behavior for our students. The world's got crazy in the last few years, and people will say I'm offended by the F Biden, the F Trump bumper stickers, the F our governor, or anybody. It's not a political thing, because I don't like any of them either. But that's what our kids, and by the way, by 1st grade, they can read that. We need to model as a community, as parents, and as just good citizens. That's not how we act in the world. And that has changed, and I hope it can get back. And I think it's part of the reason we're having kids calling more names and pushing around and all of the things. That's not all of it, that's just part of the problem, I think.
Thank you.
well, the other thing is that, I don't know if you guys, I have a child at the high school. So every day, every decision I make, would I want my kid going through this? Would I want my kid doing this? Would I want my kid here? I choice transfer into this district. My kid could go anywhere else. I choice transfer into here. Because I worked so hard every single day and night. Sometimes I don't even get to see my family because they're in bed when I get home, that I put the hours in to make sure that our school is where it needs to be. So, I mean, it's not that I'm slacking, it's not like he's slacking. We're doing what we can based with what resources we have. Luckily, we have an SSA in every school, a student support advocate. That student support advocate helps try to get students here that need to be here. They help with students that need food, that are struggling with food. They help with students and families with housing. So we have some of those resources that we're very lucky to have, and so, which some districts, some small districts don't have that. So for a small district, we were able to provide resources at the school that many aren't, and we do, but they are so full. I mean, like you said, our mental health, every slot is full.
Which is amazing when you think about kids have the choice to be in mental health at the age of 13.
Yeah.
They could choose not to go. So that's how many, if you're full and they're all mostly over 13, that's amazing. Like, I just think that's great, so.
Would it be possible to get like a wish list of what things that you already have, you have resources and whatnot, there are resources that you could use or need, or things that the board could put together, the community can put together, and things that you could make like a wish list of all the like things that would help you guys out?
Parent support, that's
Yeah,
probably the
that's-
biggest wish list I have. And when I call a parent up saying, hey, your child did this, this, and this, and the parent goes, well, what did you do? Or F you and hangs up on me. I just want some parents, because I'm not gonna call home and say your child did something if they truly did do something. And so having that support as, yes, I'm calling home because Johnny, Susie, Jackie, Brett did something, and we need to resolve this, or here's what I did. These are the action steps I took. Can you also have a conversation with them? So, I mean, those are things. I even have it where if I have a kid in my office, sometimes they'll pick up the phone and call the parent, put them on speaker.
That's not
Anybody
So-
ever get that call when I was the kid that got called, and the expectation is different now. I dreaded going home when I got in trouble at school, and I got in trouble a few times. I wasn't perfect at school. I got bored, and so I did things. But when I got home, my parents dealt with it in a more, not severe, but more direct way. They took things away, opportunities and things. And if that happens more, these kids don't learn this behavior at school. They can see it modeled by other kids that learned it from some adult somewhere.
So how do we facilitate that for them? That's the key factor, like how do we facilitate that for you guys?
Well, you know,
That's the hard part. That's the-
I've suggested parenting classes, but people go, they won't show up. So,
The ones that need it won't go.
I mean, I don't know. I'm honestly, I'm at a loss. I don't know. You know, when students are telling me to F off, we don't talk to each other that way. I didn't use those words with you, let's not use them with me. And then, you know, it's the fight is on. And so I'm not, if the kid's gonna walk out, I'm gonna let them walk out. I'm not chasing them. And so, you know, these are some of the things that we're working with and trying to work through. So, that's just, you know, on an admin piece.
Yeah.
And then other piece is really trying to get kids to understand the difference between bullying and being mean. There's a lot of meanness out there, a lot.
harassment, like harassing, like, it's like sometimes it's one kid that's like gives you crap and they think it's a joke, and it's really not a joke, it's hurting the kid's feelings, and it's not necessarily bullying, but it's not necessarily like always, it's like there's this fine line of them learning, what's the difference? How do we treat each other with kindness, and that's where I feel like a part of the, as she was talking about the Sky Valley Community Chain, like, us as a community have, so, to volunteer, but also to regulate the things that we model. And a lot of what we model is online, and I feel like we have to start restricting and these are parents, these are adults, and the kids see it. And they think it's okay to now talk to you that way because their parent went on there and talked about another business.
So one of the conversations I've been having with kids lately is that, you know, we have kids that'll come up and touch each other and stuff like that, and I'm like, that's not appropriate. Let's not touch people, that stuff is not okay. They're like, oh, we're friends. I said, you might be friends today, and then they come up and now you're not friends with them anymore, and nobody knows that. And other people see you doing this with your friends, and they're gonna come up and think it's okay. So let's not do those kind of things, so that they know that that's not how we treat one another. So I'm not gonna come up and, fondle your breasts and things like that. So I see boys coming up and what they call titty twisters and stuff, or cup checks, butt slaps. We don't do that.
Yeah, that's not
But we're
acceptable.
friends. We're friends. Like, it's still not okay.
Yeah.
We constantly have those conversations, and they're like, well, we're friends. It's okay. No, it's not okay. That's considered sexual harassment.
That's the kind of stuff that I was talking about.
And we've had those conversations conversations with the kids, are like, oh, we're friends, it's okay. But it's not okay.
Yeah, we kind of correlate that to, you know, like, when Ms. Duflop and I are in on the same student, we go, well, what if Ms. Duflop and I were doing that to each other, would that be acceptable? What would happen? And they would probably say 9 times out of 10, you guys would get fired. And that would be the truth. And
Kids
so we
getting
kind of,
disciplined for this type of stuff. Why aren't they getting in-school suspension or detentions, or, you guys need to start expelling kids, like.
There's an OSPI law, we can't
Okay.
just automatically expel
I
kids.
know you can't
We
automatically
have
expel
to
it,
have
but.
interventions.
There's-
So
I can
where
tell
can
you-
we go to start changing these things?
OSPI.
OSBI, Olympic.
Because
That's a
I've had to
legislative.
deal with the school a lot, my wife's had to deal with the school a lot, and a lot of the time they're like, yeah, our hands are tied, or if it happens off campus, they're like, hey, it happened off campus, so we don't care about it. Like, you guys, you won't even ask for like a report, you won't do anything to help, like, it feels like a joke dealing with anything with the school.
I can say for the middle school, we've done, a little bit more, as in, you know, re-educating the students, because they are learning. I mean, let's face it, we're all learning every day. That's a big piece of re-educating the students of what's appropriate, what's not. Do we hand some lunch detentions and things like that? Absolutely. There are consequences. The other piece to that is the other party, like the victim, isn't privy to those consequences, and that's FERPA law, and we can't dispose, hey, yeah, you know, I suspended Sarita last night because, you know, she hit you. I can't do that. They just have to trust and believe us that there were consequences.
We need to find a way to build that trust,
Absolutely.
because right now it's not very, it doesn't feel like a lot of the kids do trust.
And I know that's been talked about, I know.
Right.
And I don't
Jamie was
think
part
it's
of
just
that.
Sultan, I think it's
No, it's
just
everywhere.
society right now. I
It's
hope it's
everywhere.
not everywhere, but it's at some level everywhere.
Well, and that's when we send message home or we call home, we're hoping parents will follow up with that,
Right.
but that doesn't always happen.
I'm gonna try to keep this very short and sweet. But first of all, I want to formally apologize to everybody, the community, the school board, everybody, because I am guilty of posting on social media in regards to some pretty violent physical assault incidents that have been taking place off of school grounds. And I don't necessarily have skin in this game anymore either, because my son has chosen to withdraw from the public school system because he doesn't want to be in the middle of it anymore. He is so fed up that he is so focused on wanting to get his GED and get a job and get himself out of Sultan. Because I'm a single mom. I can't move us. I can't afford to pick up and move, or we would have done it by now, to be honest. But that's my first. I apologize. I went about it in not the best manner, and I recognize that and I acknowledge that. But my frustrations are, even with a student that is no longer in the public school system, he still grew up in this community. He has lifelong friends from childhood that still, I'm an involved parent as much as I possibly can be. Again, I'm a single mom, I work full time, I pay my bills, I'm a law-abiding citizen, I'm ex-military. Like, I stand for integrity. And leading up to the incident that happened in Gold Bar with John Chaperone, who is extremely good friends with my child, and there's not a day where I won't have a house full of probably anywhere from 2 to 10 teenage boys. And that's my norm, and I love it. Because I know where those boys are. I get to be involved in their direct influence of their lives. And I've sat John down before the incident happened, because let's face it, he's a teenage boy, he's young, in this friend group, he's influential, and he is the most respectful one. He will look you in the eye when you talk to him. He's very polite until he feels disrespected and he can have a little bit of a mouth on. So I was acknowledging that with him, and we were working on it. He was leaving my home in Sultan to go home to his home in Gold Bar. The night he was assaulted and jumped on the bus, conflict started on the bus, and then ended at the bus stop. If you watch that video, he did not try to defend himself, he did not try to fight back, he was trying to walk away from the conflict. And it is appalling to me that these incidents are reoccurring. Leading up to this incident, I filed multiple police reports leading up to this incident within a month. And nothing was being done. I was told to take my time out of my job to go down to the local courthouse and file protection orders. That's a process. That's not just something that's done easily. And that's the frustration that I ran into. And so when I initially posted that post, I was just saying, hey, let's shed some light on this within our community, because this is something that's really happening in our community and it's unacceptable. And what are we together as a community going to do about it? I was trying to pull people together so that we could brainstorm and come up with an idea on the best plan of action to help prevent this. Because I get that it's not just a school board issue. It's not just a parent issue. It's not just a youth issue. It is so much larger than that. And it's going to take the support of everybody banding together and showing that we stand stronger in numbers. And unfortunately, that's what my kids are being taught right now. And so, my child is being called at the end of the school day to come walk other students home so that they can get home safely. Because they're starting to realize that we are stronger in numbers. And granted, I have told them, you will not go looking for trouble. You will not, because if I find out, you're gonna have trouble. Because I'll drive you to juvie myself. But if trouble comes looking for you, you guys all better step in and band together to prevent it. And that's the mentality that I'm trying to raise these kids with. But, like I said, we as a community have to do better. We have to be better. We have to support our school board. We have to support our staff. We have to support our law enforcement. And our law enforcement needs to step up and support us as well. It's a community pulling together and banding together that's going to solve this.
Well, the reason we got here together tonight on the subject is so these kind of things can come up. I think everybody understands that sometimes the reason I don't use social media, because I would say things that I would be regretting the next day. So I feel your apology, and I think everybody can. But we have to learn from these things, and that this community isn't going to get better, you know. And I apologize, I don't know your name, sir. Adam. Part of this is a legislative problem where they think they have a fix, because it is better to keep all kids in school than to throw them out of school. Because if you throw them out of school, they'll probably be in the environment where they learn to do what they're doing badly in the school. So it's a frustration we have. But I think you are right that we need to make certain that we address it immediately and that the repercussions. The challenge we face is if you're the bullied person, you don't always know what those repercussions were. And that's a frustration. But that's an Olympia problem, it's an OSPI problem, and some of the rules have changed since probably you went to school, and certainly since I went to school. Because I've been sent home from school for 3 days, and it was for something today. It's pretty mundane. Somebody broke my pencil, and so I shoved him into a wall. And I went home for 3 days. I shouldn't have done it. It wasn't really bullying. I don't know what that is. It's fighting in class. But the other side of that is just because a kid acts out now doesn't mean we can't teach them to do right, and maybe they'll be, after they get thrown out for 3 days later, they're on the school board. We have to teach these kids, and we need to model better behavior for them as adults, and I think most people do try try to do that. The fact that everybody that's here tonight, they're trying to improve the community, so. This is not an issue that goes away tonight. I like the idea of having the city and the valley, and for what it's worth, I'm sorry what happened to the young man. That's not something that should have happened.
Happening on school property, like, I went to a private school, went to Stewart Park Christian School, went to Spanish High School in Bellevue. If it didn't happen on school property, unfortunately, there's been OSBI for a very long time. It's something that is in every big district, and they do struggle with it. It is the community and Crime Watch and people volunteering their time to watch communities, to go out there, to be having watchdogs, having more community involvement, and also regulating what people, we have to start, if that's where everybody's going, and it's understandable, you're emotional, you want to, but there's also like, I think you can only do that if you get to a certain point where you know, if our police and our police, I think there's just an education piece that a lot of people are missing about like where our police are at too, what they're able to do in the community. I'm sure you guys have learned a lot about that since their restrictions have changed, and that is now, unfortunately, you know, that's the government, right? So there's, I think, a lot of what we don't know is what they can do, what they can't do. So what can we do as a community to help so that our kids are feeling safe? Because my moving here, like, our kids have loved it. Our kids strived during COVID, made friends, had great communities. Like, so it's, for us, we've had great experiences, but now so much has come up in just such a short time, it's hard not to be like, okay, how do we now not get involved and figure out what has changed since COVID, since social media has taken over, and what can we do as a community to help model good behavior to our kids? And we do need Crime Watch. How many people are getting broken into all the time? You know what I mean? I think you guys are right, though. We have to get together with the cities.
Russ?
Yep.
Okay, we've been talking quite a while about this.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here as a board member, trying to, some of you know me, I mean, we've had a lot of kids go through this system, grandkids and kids, and,
Great game kids.
we're talking about community, we're expanding this whole thing, you know, beyond the borders of the school. And I think as a first step, I think I'd like to know for myself, as a board member, how is this happening in our schools? Okay, I mean, what are the ingredients? And so.
I think they could share with that in a long report.
No, I think research needs to be done. I mean, I think a few people should go to the high school, go to the middle school, spend some time and find out the dynamics of what's going on in the school, because you can't have bullying if the kids are in the classroom, for example, or shouldn't have. The cell phone, the social media on the cell phone, and of course, a kid doesn't have to have a smartphone to make a call home.
Right.
The parent could send a phone that only makes phone calls. I remember those.
Yeah.
Little flip phone or something. So if we, as a board, ban cell phones or smartphones, you could always have the option of the kid, if his parent really was worried about
911
that,
and mom.
carrying one of those things that it's not a smartphone. But however, I really think I would like to go see what's going on. I think that's the first step. Of course, I've always been, you know, I've talked for years about metal detectors, but I won't bring that up yet. And I think the phones are a big thing, but in order to have bullying, you have to have two kids that are unsupervised, two or more kids that are unsupervised.
One or more.
More than one. It's
One
in
or more.
bathrooms, it's in
Which
hallways,
is
it's
walking in
at
the
lunch
halls,
period.
which is
Yeah.
lunchtime, which is
It's the same
before
place it
school
was in
is
Florida when I
after
was a
all
kid,
it
it's
is.
just,
I was there, okay?
I know,
I
but
remember those days as a teacher. But anyway, and we had some different things going on back in the old days where we were monitoring kids. There's an old saying, you know, that, I hate to even bring this up. If you keep the crew in the boat rowing, they're too busy rowing to rock the boat. And I think that application is kind of like the school. If they're so busy trying to get through the academics or the education part of it, they're not gonna have time for this fooling around. That may be one aspect of the picture, but I really would like to initiate a visitation by community members, board members, or whatever kind of maybe a committee, but I think we need to meet to discuss how we're going to attack this problem.
And I think they would love for us board
Oh,
members to come
absolutely,
to the
absolutely.
school.
I was just gonna say,
Anytime
you're
we
welcome
want to.
whenever.
Yeah, I just wanna
Yeah.
see the dynamics from when they get off the
So-
bus, what's going on through the day, that
You
sort
can
of thing.
just go to
We'll
lunch.
just go.
Richard talked
I'm
about
I'm
the
talking
watchdog
about, we
program.
need a couple of
Yeah, the
people from the
watchdog.
community.
Right, but I'm
and
saying,
board members.
you can see it even at lunch period.
So as a board, we should discuss this, create a plan, and then staff it with whoever.
Or you could, like at the high school, call it parent patrol, but part of the purpose of that is, we fully understand parents that have to work and stuff, but having a watchdog program at the elementary level, part of it is so that people can sign up and be on campus periodically, and you get a real feel for how it works. It doesn't have to be just dads are great students, that's what the watchdog stands for. We could have moms or whatever.
Yep.
Sarita has initiated that at the high school, and the older kids get,
Obviously, all this stuff has not worked.
well,
So
my
what I'm,
point is
what
people
I'm
don't
saying
get
is,
involved.
I would like a couple of people with eyes and ears to go and look at what's going on and see if there's holes in what we're doing that create the fertile soil for bullying. That's it. That's all.
One last thing and I'm gonna
What
move on.
about,
Okay.
what about setting up or asking actual students to come forward and interview one-on-one with a board member
That's after the fact. No,
and
I wanna see what's going
getting
on to
their
create it.
perspective on what the
Well, that
underlying
could be
issue
part of
is
it. Yeah.
and why these arguments are starting in the first place. Because my
Where is
son
it
brought
happening?
up a great point that it is beginning within the school walls, from a comment that's made, from a joke that's told, from whatever it may be that this person doesn't like what this person did. So instead of jumping them on school grounds because they know that there would be consequences of some sort, or they know that they have more numbers inside school walls. So they're waiting to catch these kids off school grounds because they're more likely to be able to jump them 2-on-1 versus
This
2-on
is, no,
however many.
I'm talking about step one. We can't do the off in downtown Sultan and downtown Gold Bar. Right now, this board is faced with where apparently we have a bullying problem at mostly the high school and middle school. So I think we need to investigate.
Well, and having a meeting about that, here's the thing, we have 6 more days of school if I'm not mistaken. So it's unlikely that we could do something
Right, but we
well.
can
But
formulate
we
all
need to
of
formulate
this.
the plan over the summer.
We can
Are you
formulate-
celebrating 6 more days or
I said 5.5, but
5
it's
and a half?
counting.
Okay, fair enough. But I don't disagree with that plan.
And I'd love to hear the rest of their presentation.
Yeah. Do you have the rest of your presentation?
Yeah, so, we can just quickly go through it. So,
Thank you for the
the
reminder.
next one was the definition of meanness. So being mean is where unkind and spiteful. So the next one talked about bullying versus mean, and we kind of talked about that. So we touched on that, typically, what's bullying, what's mean. Some examples, you guys brought up some examples. We have physical, we have verbal, we have emotional, we have sexual, we have cyberbullying. One of the things that Brett and I did, we did partner this year regarding some, the White Hatter, and then we did, which is the White Hatter talks about usage of technology appropriately. And so we partnered with that. And at the high school, we did, for almost a month and a half, we put something out on social media about behaving appropriately with technology and those kind of things. So.
And we followed up with a bullying presentation for our social emotional lessons on Friday.
So those are some of the things that we've done with that. The next slide talks about percentage of students who report being bullied in the past 30 days. Now here's what this doesn't tell you. In schools, in the community, that's where we need to drill down because that's what we don't know. We don't know if it's being, done in the community or if it's being done in the schools. This is just students who are reporting being bullied over the last 30 days in 2021.
And that was post-COVID,
Yeah.
Correct.
right? So that's not really what's, with kids were barely in.
Well, yeah, that was just, that was right after, that was just like the year after COVID. Well,
Right, so they were
2020 is
in-
when
they
we
were
went
in a-
out. It
They
was
were in a hybrid, right?
Yep.
They were online when they were hybrid, then they went full-time, like didn't even go full-time.
No, it was half days.
Half days, right? So this is really not accurate because the kids weren't even fully in school for a year to be able, so it's probably not I mean, you guys did what you could, I'm not saying you do it every 2 years, I get it, so this 2023, if you just did one,
We haven't yet.
Are you doing the
It's
fall?
coming, yeah, it's coming up,
So
so
when we do
we're
it in the fall,
prepping.
you'll have more accurate numbers of kids being in school for the last 4 years. or 2
Right.
years.
So one of the things that I noticed when we're looking at data and you're looking at cohorts. So if you look at 2016, sixth graders, they would be seniors in 2021. And if you look at that, the percentage of bullying went down over the years. I don't know why or what caused that to happen. Maybe it was the pandemic. I don't know, but that was something interesting I was looking at. That in 2016, we had sixth graders that reported 30% of being bullied in the last 30 days. And then you look at 2021, 12th graders, and they're 17%. So again, it's drilling that, excuse me, it's drilling down to find out why. That's what we need to figure out is why. What was the difference? Was it kids just maturing? Was it kids truly understanding what the definition of bullying and being mean is? Again, we don't know that information because those were not questions that were asked on the survey.
Want to go to the next slide? So the school, percentage of school tries to stop bullying. Again, in 21, sixth grade didn't take it, but in eighth grade it was 39%, and up in the high school, 10th was 16%, 12th grade was 31%. But if you look at the years past, it's pretty similar to what has happened, but as you can see, 2016, 18, those are pretty high numbers that they felt the school was taking care of the issue. If I recall from Sarita's been in the district a lot more than I have. This is my first year, so she remembers back when OSBI made the change. I think you brought up like 2017, I believe, 2016, 17, where some of those discipline issues changed. And I think this kind of correlates it, looking into it, just thinking off the top of my head with the reasons of why. And now is the perception of, gosh, did the kid even get taken care of? Did it get addressed because of FERPA laws? We can't divulge that. Sure, we can let the kid know we're gonna talk to him, we're gonna deal with it, but that's as far as they know. So I think that also creates some gaps in data collection.
Now then students know how to report bullying. I know before COVID, we had posters hanging up all over. We would let kids know that, you don't have to come. And so someone doesn't see you talking to an administrator because, if someone sees you talking to an administrator, you must be telling them something or you must be snitching, right? You must be a snitch. So there were lots of different ways and I think we made an effort, a big effort to show kids that that's how you can do that. And perhaps that's what we need to do again, just remind them. We do still have posters up, but I don't know if they really even
There's an
pay attention
anonymous
to those.
phone line you can do, you can send an anonymous email. There's different ways to do it, to provide a level of cover for those that feel like they can't report. But, the bottom line is, it's an ongoing challenge, we need to dive into it.
Yeah, I know at the middle school, we do have a couple of QR codes that our counselor has put together. We also have the HIP forms that students can fill out, leave it at the office, and we go and investigate. HIP, remind me, Dan or Sarita, what that stands for, something?
Harassment, intimidation, bullying.
Harassment, intimidation, bullying, thank you. I forgot what the H was. But those, several kids have filled those out throughout this year. We have dealt with them, and felt pretty strongly that those have subsided the issues, because it hasn't been reported since, which is good news for us. Next one, feeling safe at school. I think we kind of reached this too in 21 last year. Middle school was probably an average about 85%, if you look at the two grades put together, 89% sixth grade and 78% eighth grade. High school again, 10th grade felt pretty safe at 81, but there was a huge decline in 12th grade of 65%. I can't speak to that one, I don't know why.
Yeah, and again, not knowing why. We had when school shootings going on around the country, those kind of things, or even colleges. So that always sparks some conversation with students. Students will come in and, ask different questions about safety and those kind of things. So, when I do have students come in asking about safety, that's, those are some of the things we talked about, which is partly why some of the fencing got put up around, is so to help, with that safety thing. The other things is, we lock our classroom doors and we put magnets in, so it's easy just to pull those and the doors are locked, those kind of things. And so now students, have to knock on the doors to get in and those kind of things. So it's not just anybody can open up the doors willy-nilly. So, we've done some things to try to help with the physical safety of things. And we've implemented our social emotional with our counselors. Maybe there's more out there.
But looking at the historical, I think for middle school, it's increased from past precedents of 2016, 2018, and then with the high school, it's increased as well, other than 12th grade it dropped. I don't know if you want to get the child hope scale.
Well, and looking at the child hope scale, that was very sad to me. Broke my heart. Broke my heart. Because how do we give kids hope?
Well, and this was COVID too, so they're probably playing a little.
This is right, yeah.
I would imagine their hope, coming back was really difficult.
Yeah. And just so you understand I don't know if you have it in front of you, but the green represents, the dark green is high hope, and then the light green, no to very little hope. And our schools is in the blue, dark being feeling hopeful, light blue not so hopeful. I think those charts kind of speak to themselves.
So 39% at the high school, 40% at the middle school that are feeling highly hopeful. So, working through how do we give them hope? And maybe it's, kids were not feeling hopeful because they had lacking grades that they had to, they had credits that they had to make up. Again, we don't know exactly what it is because it doesn't drill down. But, we can make some educational guesses as to why some of these things are. I know last year at summer school alone, we had the most credits that have ever been made up in our summer school history. And so maybe after that, students were starting to feel a little more hopeful. And the fact that, when the current seniors were their freshman year, we had over 50% of them failing algebra, and now, Saturday, 111 graduate, 103 walk. So, that's hopeful, in some of that data that we're looking at.
Historical data, it's pretty close. For middle school, it's 44%, 8th grade felt high hope, and for the high school is 50%. So it's pretty close. Obviously a little bit higher for high school, from 39 to 50%.
If we're someone in the community talked to, so students feel that, at the high school, as a combined 10 and 12, 55% feel that they have someone to go to the high school and talk, or in the community and talk to. We also do CE data. That's stuff that we send home to families. It's also a survey we send out to students. And 72% of students in our school feel like they can talk to an adult about a problem. So that was comforting, that we have at least 72% to feel that there's someone at the high school that they can connect with. I know that when I was a teacher at the high school, several years ago now, we did a survey where we worked, and we put every single student on this whiteboard, these poster boards, and we had dots, and we went around and put a dot to every kid that we connected with. And those students that didn't have dots, we as a staff, we assigned, I can make connection with that student's in my class. or that student's in this program, I can make a connection. That student's in this, I can make a connection. That student's in this, we can make a connection. In our mental health PLC this year, we talked about doing that again in the fall as one of our staff meetings. We sit down, we pull of our students up, put them on whiteboards, and we take around our dots, who we connect with, who do we know, who do we make a connection with, and those that we don't make a connection with, then let's start reaching out and making some connections. So we've talked about, that is something that we have talked about doing in the fall.
Yeah, and I can second that, we'll be doing that with the middle school as well. That's something I've been involved with in the past at other schools that I've been with, and when Sarita and us got together, that's something that we talked about, and we're absolutely going to be on board doing. So, I think that's why we're all here, is I think the last slide there. What we can do about it, gosh, there's lots of things that we do in the school, but maybe not necessarily that is well known, because I think, at least for me, at the middle school, I can do a better job of communicating what we actually can do. And I think that's just a lesson learned of more communication and just educating, here's some of our tools that we have, and some things we're unable to do, due to some restrictions. We have put in safety plans in place at the middle school. We also have alternate passing period where we just kind of switch off when the child is switching their classes. So it's a little bit delayed. They're allowed the same amount of time to pass in between class periods, so there's less harassment or less issues, be it for safety or the kid just feels better that way. A parent might say, hey, is there something that we can do? And we suggest that. Yes, I'd love it, let's do it. And it's implemented right then and there. Again, we put in those no contact contracts as well on the extreme cases of issues with students. And also, we just encourage kids and parents to speak up and let us know what's going on so we can help. Because we can't help if we don't know. And I think that's a huge thing.
Some of the other things that we've done at the high school is, if we can, and they share classes together, we try to do alternate different classes. Again, being a small school, we're very limited about, what classes we have, and so if a student really wants a certain class and we only offer one section of it, it makes it really hard. So then we just work with the teacher and the parents and the kids. Can we not put them in groups? Can we keep them as separate as possible? For students that are not comfortable going to the restroom, we give them an alternative restroom. We have one that is one stall. It's up in the nurse's room, so kids can use that. Anybody that doesn't feel comfortable going into the restroom because they feel like they might get jumped, or that's where they're gonna get bullied, some of those things that we have set up for that.
And I just want to say thank you for everyone that show up. I know this is a huge concern for all of us. I appreciate the board allowing us to present tonight. I know it's the majority of the time, but I know it's a huge, important issue.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And again, if any parent wants to meet, I'm more than happy to meet.
Likewise.
Just please contact me. I mean, email, phone. Email's probably best because I can get it anywhere on campus. So I'm not always at my desk, believe it or not. And so, I'm out and about, and so, oftentimes, if, my phone buzzes, I can look down and see that, okay, so wants to meet. And when I go back into my office, I can send them an email, or I can look at my calendars, and we can work something out, so.
And parent volunteers, pass the word around that they have to be background checked to be within the school. So I would love volunteers every single day in our school. And I know they can do that there at the district office.
Thank you. Next up is our approval of our personnel action report. Hopefully this will be a simpler task this evening. I don't think it was pretty much in there. Are there any questions about our personnel action report?
Just one. Dan, the ESY summer school,
Yes.
you have a contract with Leonard, so there was no dollar thing there. Isn't there supposed to be a money thing in there that tells us how much we're paying?
I can get you that tomorrow.
I mean, just as a formality kind of a thing.
Yeah, Yeah, Dan, do you know off the top of your head the cost of doing ESY?
For the entire program,
Yeah.
No, you just hired the one teacher that's in the personnel thing, there's no dollar figure by his salary for the month that he's teaching.
yeah, I don't know exactly based on the duration of the program this year, if it's, the program runs from the 24th.
But it should be entered in there at some point in time.
Right.
So this is one where we got a grant, I think that's covering it this year, where there was an addition to the program, and I don't know what it was called, where there was,
Dan, it's just that when we hire people, there's usually a number there that says how much we're paying them.
I think we do it with stipends, I'm not certain we do it
No.
with certificated teachers on this
When
one.
they're doing a part-time thing, like a monthly thing. But anyway, that should be in.
I see what
That
you're
was the
saying.
only question.
Yeah, and that is only, well, it's effective for that time, is it only going to be for 2 weeks?
Yes.
So it should have it, I agree.
Yeah, it just should be in there, if you can get it in there somehow or another. In case somebody comes back 10 years from now and looks at that record.
Any other questions? No. Is that all?
Also moved.
All right, I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And for those of you who haven't been at the last several meetings, I discovered that when a board is as small as ours, I only need a motion, not a second, to proceed, so if it seems different, that's why we're doing that. Next up is approval of a student representative plan. And Gigi, you've been working on this?
This is rather boring after everything else today.
I like boring.
I emailed last night just the things that, the parameters, seek to have a junior and a senior student rep, 2-year commitment. Students will apply in April to May of each school year, with the exception of the current year. Committee will review the applications, interview and recommend choices to the board. Committee will consist of at least one board member, one, high school admin or staff member, and one district office staff member. The board will provide guidance on the qualifications that the committee should take into consideration, and will adopt a standardized form for use in the selection process. Then the board makes the final decision on the candidates. They will be informed of the decision by June 1st of each year. And then we provide training and orientation, held prior to the first board meeting in September. That would consist of in-person and online activities, so they know what the expectations are, proper meeting conduct, what their role is, and what we expect them to take back to their peers. Current year's a little different because we're starting a little late, but we can broadcast the opportunity, communicate it through email, social media, things that the high school sends out. We can, bug Sarita to include that in there. Yes.
Our constitution, we have a constitution, so it'll change our constitution.
Okay.
So we will, based on what you're proposing, we probably need to change the constitution before you put this in place, right?
Yeah, if we need to change it.
So this can be, how quickly do you think a constitutional change can occur at a high school level?
Well, Tuesday was the last meeting, so I don't know when we'll be able to get everybody back together. I can talk to the ASB advisor to find out, but just thinking of the Constitution, it is a constitutional change.
Because it's in there that the ASB is.
President is also on the board.
So maybe you could gather that information of when that would be, and then maybe get that to Dan so he could get it out to the board,
Yep.
so that we could make a decision on how and when we can proceed.
And we can do this as a first reading.
Yeah.
Well, on this constitutional thing, Sarita, these are people who may say, we may not like that idea of changing the Constitution. So, just because the board wants to do something doesn't force a change in the Constitution.
Because it's a student ASB, so that's an ASB
Well, that's what I mean.
constitution.
ASB should determine whether they want to change the Constitution or not.
Yeah,
If
she's
they
saying
don't.
she has to get them together to have that conversation.
I hate to, and I don't support doing this just because we're got a new board coming next year, and I don't want to impose this on them. But aside from that, think the student body ASB ought to have a voice in whether this is a good idea for them or not, through their constitution, so. I don't know how you do that other than next year.
And oftentimes, what happens is that if someone wants to make a change or whatnot, they bring a proposal to the ASB meeting, and they talk to ASB,
Right.
and then they
That's
vote,
what
and then
should
it
go
goes
on, yeah.
about, so. That's how
Okay.
it would normally take place.
Well, and the goal of the board here, so it's clear, is to make certain that we have a candidate that's able to fill the position, be here at all of the meetings.
Right, yes.
And that's not downplaying having board presidents, but sometimes, or their
They're
ASB
usually too
president.
busy.
They're too busy, and they can't really be engaged at the level we would like them to be. So,
And what we're proposing, or what I'm proposing, is the way that it's done in most of the schools around us. Monroe
Yeah.
does it, I mean, they all do it this way. So it just kind of makes the people actually want to do it, so they apply because this is something that they want to do. So they're gonna be here and they're going to really engage in the whole process, so.
so maybe the proper way is this is the first reading, we approve it and this is what we would like you to take to them to see what, and obviously it's a first reading and changes can be made and we can, because we ultimately have to approve it as well as they have to approve it. So, that being the case, do I have a motion to approve this as a first reading so we can bring it forward to the ASB to review?
Well, we don't need a motion to bring it to ASB.
I think it
I
makes it so,
think we do.
I think that makes certain we have, because if nobody wants to do it, we don't do it. And one board member brought it up, so we need to move it forward from the board instead of just one board member taking something to ASB. So I have a motion, all in favor? Aye.
I say no.
Okay. 4 ayes and Ed dissenting.
No, I voted no.
That's why I said dissenting. Dissenting, you said no. Okay, we have Gold Bar Playground discussion.
So, several things have happened on and off. I think I'll go back to kind of the beginning, when the new playground equipment was put in. You know, one of the things that Gold Bar did is keep it open because it's the, you know, kind of the
Community.
park in
Yeah.
town. And so it was closed on occasion, and there was an outcry and agreed to keep it open, which makes some sense. There have been several occasions where, you know, things that happen over the weekend or on holidays, while it's open, are not the things that we would want to have happen. The most recent thing was this past weekend where there were quads being ridden around on it. And I know that Charlie went out and met whoever it was, and, you know, for obvious reasons, you don't even need to discuss, it's just not the place to have quads. And so, but there's been beer bottles and glass, so there's drinking going on, that they have to, you know, they don't always find it, but they gotta, once it's pointed out, they've gotta clean it up. There was some kids that had BB guns and different things.
Are there police officers
Yeah.
that patrol Gold Bar?
Yeah.
Good.
And so I think I'm just bringing it to the board's awareness, you know, so that you know that we're gonna close it for a while. Charlie's gonna put a single man gate in, so you can't get any kind of a vehicle there, because we do believe that it should be open to the community. But as community members, and I don't know where everybody lives, don't try to take matters into your own hands if somebody's doing the wrong thing, but please report it.
Right.
Because it's, you know, we wanna take care of it, and we want to keep it, you know, so that it's available to everybody, but if quads are gonna be on there every weekend, it's not gonna last very long at all.
We had somebody changing their engine under.
Yeah, I remember that. So the lights were on in the shed, you know, and so that led to different things going on in there. And we actually had somebody pull a car in and put it up on jacks and change the engine in there. So it's a multi-purpose shed.
I have a quick question. So
Yeah.
the Gold Bar Elementary School is it's basically being treated like a public park, right? And,
Yes.
but public parks, you're not there's rules and there's like trespassing and like if you're trespassing after 9, you know, isn't it usually, I mean, like,
Well, I don't know that.
do they not have that because it's the school, they can't do the same, that's what I'm asking, can they not do those
I don't
things?
know the answer to that. I do
Okay.
understand what you're asking. We have, it's a space in town that allows a lot of things to happen that you would do at a park. They don't
Yeah.
really have a park there.
But they don't have the rules.
They
of
can
like a
fly
normal
kites, they
park.
can play baseball, they can play basketball, we don't
Right.
have any problems with that, but
And so the school property has kind of acted as the park, but you know, we've gotta make sure that people are taking care of it. And so,
Yeah.
a lot of times we find this after the fact, and quads on the playground is just kinda over the top for me. You know, that's just.
Well, and I
too much.
think maybe we can ask the law enforcement out
Yeah.
there if they can, I know they're probably busy with, it sounds like a lot of things,
Yeah.
patrolling that a little bit more regularly.
Well, how about putting cameras in, I guess?
Lots of cameras, there are lots.
That's probably where we saw them.
Yeah, there's, and so the pictures of the quads were, you know, I think turned over to law enforcement. I think Charlie actually went to the campus and talked with them and said, look, you can't have quads in here. This doesn't work. But I don't wanna, you know, have a citizen put themselves in a tough spot if you've got somebody, I personally would never take a quad on a school playground, you know, but,
So are we closing the park?
um,
Are we closing?
We're
the
making it
playground?
harder, you can't get a quad in.
yeah, I will give you guys an update. I talked to Charlie about it today, I talked to Heather about it today. The quads were on it over the weekend.
Yeah,
And so Charlie said, I'm gonna close it and then we're gonna put a single man gate in. Cause I think the gate they leave open is large enough to where you could get a car through it, is part of the problem.
so it will be open.
It'll be closed for a period until he puts a man gate in.
Yeah, but I will talk to him in the morning and I'll give you guys an update as to where we're at.
Person to walk through, you can't.
Yeah, I understand that, but what kind of timeline are we talking about?
I have to talk to Charlie. You know, he just gave me an update today. I was at Gold Bar today with Heather, and we talked about the same thing. And that's where, you know, I learned about the beer bottles and the different things that they're finding, and it's just concerning.
Well, I think we need to put a sign
Yeah.
why we're doing that.
Yep,
Yeah, that's a
and
good-
I told Charlie that I'll write a letter to the community, and we'll let folks know.
Put a sign on it,
But I
whatever
mean, there
it's
has to be a
locked.
sign
Yeah,
right there.
I agree with you.
Temporary closed until proper security. Anything else for regular session?
No.
Okay, we have executive session, real estate acquisition for discussion, 15 minutes?
Yep.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Glasses on, so I see what time it is. It's 9:06, we'll adjourn until 9:11, giving everybody 5 minutes to get out of here and use facilities if they need to. And our meeting will come to an end 15 minutes after that at 9:26, give or take a minute. Thank you, everybody. I have a motion, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you, everybody, for coming. I'll be in Nebraska for the next meeting, so it's